You spend all those hours studying, you pore over your notes, and you really try to make it all stick. But what if I told you that by tomorrow, a massive chunk of all that hard work is just gonna vanish? Well, let's dive into how we can fix that, using the same methods as some of the most effective learners on the entire planet.
70%. Just look at that number. That single number is pretty much the biggest obstacle standing in your way when you're trying to learn anything new. And guess what? It's happening inside your brain every single day.
Yeah, that's the shocking truth. 70% of everything you study today will be gone within just 24 hours. Now listen, this is really important. This isn't your fault. Your brain is literally hardwired to clear out any information it thinks is unimportant. It's a natural process called the forgetting curve, and it is the silent killer of everything you're trying so hard to learn.
It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? You put in all those hours only to feel like you're right back at square one the next day. But think about this for a second. In Japan, students have to memorize over 2,000 complex kanji characters, and they actually remember them for life. So what's their secret? How do they do it?
Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of the problem, what I call the forgetting trap. See, the study methods most of us were taught in school, the ones that feel super productive, they just don't work with how our brains are actually wired. It's time to figure out why, and more importantly, what we can do about it.
So take a look at this. This is where it gets really interesting. On the left, you've got the traditional stuff. Rereading your notes, highlighting everything in sight. I mean, it feels like you're getting a lot done, right? But for your brain, it's just background noise. It's kind of like an ad you scroll right past without even noticing. But on the right, well, on the right we have the methods that actually build lasting memory.
And here's the absolute key takeaway. It is not about studying harder, it's about studying smarter. Your teachers probably never told you this, but if you keep forgetting things, the problem isn't you, it's the tool you're using.
So, what if you could actually hack your own brain to break this miserable cycle of learning and forgetting? Well, the good news is you absolutely can. We're about to break down 5 science-backed hacks that Japanese students use all the time to master learning without spending endless hours with their noses buried in a book.
All right, let's kick things off with the first and honestly the most powerful technique. I like to call it the samurai approach to memory. Active recall. This is a total game changer.
You see, most people focus on input, reading, watching videos, listening to lectures, but real memory is strengthened through output by forcing your brain to actually pull information out. Think of it like going to the gym for your brain. Every single time you struggle to remember something, you're not failing. You're actually doing a rep, reinforcing those neural pathways and making them stronger and more permanent. The struggle is the workout. And this shows you just how simple it is to put this into practice seriously. You close the book, you put your notes away, and you grab a totally blank sheet of paper. Then you just write down or draw or explain out loud everything you can possibly remember. It's going to feel hard at first, for sure. But that difficulty, that struggle, that is exactly what forges strong, lasting memories.
And this, right here, gets to the very core of the difference in philosophy. Cramming, that's a short-term, desperate move you make just to pass a test. But cultivating, that's a long-term, intentional process of actually growing your understanding. It's a whole different ballgame.
But active recall is just the beginning. Real mastery comes from consistency, which brings us to our next set of game-changing techniques, compounding. This is all about turning tiny, daily efforts into massive, long-term results.
First up, we've got the Kumon method. Instead of trying to swallow an entire textbook in one go, you break down your studies into small, totally manageable, bite-sized daily steps. This lets you master concepts bit by bit until they become second nature, all with that awful feeling of burnout.
And next, there's spaced repetition. Okay, think of this like watering a plant. You don't want to drown it, but you also don't want it to dry out. You want to water it just before it starts to wilt. It's the same with your memory. By reviewing information at just the right moments, after a day, then a few days later, then a week, and so on, you interrupt that forgetting curve and lock that knowledge into your long-term memory for good.
Now, both the Kumon method and spaced repetition are built on one single incredibly powerful idea, and it's captured by this number, 1%. This is the heart of the Japanese principle of Kaizen, or continuous improvement. As James Clear talks about in his book, Atomic Habits, making a tiny 1% improvement every single day leads to absolutely mind-blowing growth over time. This isn't about making huge, stressful changes. It's about those small, consistent steps. A few minutes of active recall, a quick review, that compound into massive progress. Okay, but having all the right techniques is only half the battle. To truly, deeply master a subject, you also need the right mindset. This is about the art of deep, immersive focus.
You see, to really apply these techniques, you have to get into a state of deep focus. In Japan, there's a term for this, su. You might know it by another name, though, the flow state. It's that incredible feeling where you become completely one with what you're doing. The outside world just melts away, and learning almost feels effortless. And you get there through rituals. By creating a dedicated space, by getting rid of all your distractions, and even by doing something small, like always using the same pen or lighting a candle, you send a powerful signal to your brain. You're basically telling it, hey, it's time to focus, it's time to learn. This little ritual tags the moment as important, which makes it way easier to remember everything.
So, we've gone over the techniques, we've gone over the mindset. Now, it really all comes down to a simple choice. Your path forward starts with one single step.
And this slide, it lays out that choice perfectly. You can stick with the old way, that endless, miserable cycle of cramming, forgetting, and stress. Or you can choose the smart way, the path of cultivating knowledge, of actually retaining it, and achieving true mastery.
But here's the deal. Just consuming information is easy. Anybody can do that. The real difference between the people who succeed and those who don't is action. The top 1% of learners won't just watch this explainer and then click on the next thing. They will pick one single thing from this and actually apply it.
So, the question I'm going to leave you with is a really simple one. Which one of these hacks are you going to try first? Is it going to be the blank page method of active recall? Maybe the 1% daily improvement of Kaizen? Just choose one. Start today, because that is how real change actually begins.